too. I'll ask it if you're ready, and then say, here's that. Any other questions, ask Pat. But Robert, no. Or Wendy.
I'll say, move back in soon.
Yeah, because it's.
Yeah, he said you won't focus.
I got 6 more months. Like, I can make it. I'm like, why? Well, because that's $100 down here.
Yeah, he told me you were doing that.
That's the night. That's exactly. I didn't know where your normal seat is anymore, so. Right here.
I had nothing. There's only one person who answers to it.
Number one from regular to four.
You aren't old enough to just do it. You do have 3 minutes though. You're fine.
Okay, so we get it done. Sure you have one.
Are you handling it?
We're gonna do the road special service district budget first. Oh. We usually do.
Mr. Shocker.
Yeah. We're gonna do the. Right. Yeah, get out of the way.
Luckily, this one, I'm not sure where you might end up.
I was told that I'm not officially until January, but I came to watch anyway.
Oh, okay.
So,
You're unofficial.
yeah.
Okay.
We would need to. One of us. Yeah. Oh.
Really? Just temporarily. Short timer. as in minutes, hopefully.
I'm gonna sit.
Hi. Good. How are you doing? Oh, really? Summertime? Oh, okay. Yeah. Mhm.
We're ready to start. Ready? Okay. Good morning. Welcome to a series of meetings that we have. The first one that we have is the Board of Directors of the Municipal Building Authority of Utah County. Oh, I'm on the wrong one.
I've got it.
Yes, correct. Okay, we'll change that. This is the Utah Valley Road Special Service District. There we go. Now we're on point. And we're going to start with a public hearing for that. And I will need to suspend the rules so that I can second, as there's only two of us. So if we could have a motion to open up that public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The public hearing is now open. Is there any, when it comes to the Utah Valley Road Special Service District, is there any comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing with a motion.
Move to close the public hearing.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is closed. So now we have two agenda items. One is to approve the minutes of the October 29th, 2019 meeting. Any Any questions to that?
Nope.
Okay, a motion to be in order.
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. And number 2 is to adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 budget for the Utah Valley Road Special Service District. Any questions there?
Nope.
Okay. A motion to be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the Utah Valley Road Special Service District budget for the year 2020.
And I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
And I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now adjourned. Thank you, Kim. Okay, we'll transition now. Some other meetings. Okay, we're ready with the recording? Okay. All right, we are now going to transition to another meeting, which is the Municipal Building Authority of Utah County. And we need to go into a public hearing. Can we get a motion to go into a public hearing?
Move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Get a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That passes 3-0. We're now open for a public hearing. Any comments? Seeing none.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. On our agenda, we have 2 items. The first one is to approve the minutes. Second one is to adopt a resolution. Let's start with, of course, the minutes. Any concerns with the minutes of the October 29th, 2019?
No.
Motion to be in order.
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 1.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Number 2 is to adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 budget for the Municipal Building Authority. In that budget, we have the revenues of $336,332, and the expected expenses of being the same, $336,332. Any questions to that?
No.
Motion to be in order then?
Move that we approve the budget as stated.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve, to adopt the resolution as stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Okay, are we changing recordings on
Motion to
everyone?
adjourn.
Oh,
Sorry.
great, thank you. Is there a second on that?
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now adjourned. Are we changing recordings for every single meeting? Very good. Okay, we'll continue then. So now we'll transition to the Board of Trustees for the Utah County Special Service Area number 6, and we have listed a public hearing. Can we open that public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Get a motion and a second to open the hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is now open. Is there any comments? Seeing none, we'll close it.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Get a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. On the agenda, we have 2 items. The first one is to approve the minutes for the October 29th, 2019 meeting. Any questions or comments to that?
This is Service Area 6.
6.
I am not able to pull this up. I guess I don't have issues with the minutes, but so we can move on that. But the budget, I'm gonna need to see.
Okay. I'll move that we approve regular agenda item number 1.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the agenda item number 1, which is approving the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. The second item is to adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 budget for service area number 6. The projected revenues on that is $251,000, with the expenditures being anticipated at $3,251,000. Any questions?
This is law enforcement for the unincorporated area, right? Service Area 6?
Right.
That's so.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a question about this, or a comment. I do think that it would be appropriate going forward to try to show in our budgets, to reconcile the amount that's collected in the unincorporated area with the services that are provided by the sheriff's department for that area. Right now, our budget consolidates it a little bit more. And so I don't think that's a change that we can really do this year. But I think that there should be an effort from the sheriff's department, because right now we kind of take this money, and correct me if I'm wrong, Deneen, and we just kind of do a one-time transfer to the general fund. And then the sheriff's department takes that and just kind of provides all of its enforcement services under one department. And I think it would be helpful to show this on a, and it's not that it has to be balanced in that regard. And I think the sheriff's department can show what other services are being provided to the county, but I think there should be more of an attempt to correlate these revenues with the law enforcement services in the unincorporated area. And so I guess generally I have a question about these next few budgets of, does it make sense to pass these now while we haven't passed our general fund budget to the extent they have an impact on the general fund budget? Or should we do that all at once? And I'm curious on the views of the timing. The Municipal Building Authority that one is not having an impact on the general fund. But these ones, in some ways, might.
Sure. Those are great questions. Deneen, would you be willing to speak to that?
For the service areas, the only one that has an impact on the general fund is Service Area 6. And actually, the Municipal Building Authority does have a small transfer from the general fund to its operations to cover the entity registration with the lieutenant governor, the corporation registration, and to cover public notices of hearings required for budgets and so forth. But it was only $500, so it was very minimal. So I don't necessarily see a problem with approving Service Area 6 now. I don't think that revenue is going to change unless you wanted to get the numbers from the sheriff, like Commissioner Ainge mentioned, to tie the revenues more specifically
and I don't for this year.
Yeah.
I want to make that comment into future years, but
yeah, and so I'm comfortable with this number, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm comfortable with this number is because the maximum amount of fund balance allowed in the service areas is 1 year of property taxes, and we are at that maximum already. So I can't, like, whatever is collected has to be transferred into the general fund, or else you're going to exceed the maximum allowed fund balance. And again, that's with the assumption that $3 million in services is being provided to the unincorporated area.
And that's the reason why I think in service area number 9, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago, we actually reduced that.
That's correct.
That tax.
Yeah, and we've also reduced the property taxes in service area 8.
Right.
and so I guess as we go through some of these service areas, because I'm looking forward, and I for some reason cannot pull up all of these, there is an impact on some of the requests that we've been going through in our budget process, right? And so that's what I want to make sure. If I'm a little bit hesitant, but I'll listen to the feedback of what we want to do, to approve one of these budgets, if it's picking up kind of the new departmental requests that we've been going through as our general budget process that I think most of us have been thinking about in preparation for the tax meeting tomorrow night.
Right. So service area 6 and service area 9 were not tied to any specific additional budget requests.
Okay.
Service area 7 and 8 were. Those were included with the budget packet of what requests were tied to those areas.
Okay. That was the core of my questions.
Okay.
Okay, for answering that. Okay. I don't have 7 and,
These are the two.
or no, I only have 7 and 8.
Oh.
So
Okay.
we're on this 6.
We're on number
So
6.
So it
yeah.
would be to approve 6, if you have any questions on that. I
No,
guess.
no questions on that. So I
I-
would second. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the Service Area 6 budget as stated.
Second?
We got a motion and a second to approve the resolution, or adopt the resolution as stated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Okay, number 7. Number 7 has a public hearing as well. This one, this is Utah County Service Area number 7. And if we can open up that public
A
hearing.
motion to open the public hearing?
Do I have a second?
Second?
We had a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is now open. Is there any public comment to service area number 7? Seeing none,
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Number 1 is to approve, on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the October 29th, 2019 meeting. Any questions or comments there?
Nope.
See none?
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 1?
Second?
Motion and a second has been to approve agenda item number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Number 2 is to adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 budget for the service area number 7. It has anticipated revenues of $1,014,725, with expenditures being the same. And this is the one you're talking about, where in there for additional budget requests is a new vehicle of $23,000 and add new vehicle to replace the schedule of $6,440, and then the time limited fire inspector with $8,000. This one, according to, it looks like according to our rankings, all 3 of us agreed to.
Mhm.
Well, we ranked it high.
We ranked them high.
Yeah, we ranked it high. There was no agreement. It was just ranked high.
Okay.
Questions to that?
I didn't have any.
Motion?
I'll move that we approve the budget of Service Area 7 as stated.
Second?
We had a motion and a second to approve the resolution as stated number 2 on our agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. That passes 3-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
And a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now adjourned from that meeting. We'll move to service area number 9 and open a public hearing for this area.
Not 8?
You want to do 9?
Oh, did I skip 8? What did I do with 8?
Oh, I think you get
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna take 9.
Okay. This is 9. Paper shuffle here. 7's done. Okay. All right. Did I open it for number?
I'll motion to open the public hearing for Service Area number 8.
There we go.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Motion and a second has been made for opening the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. It is now open for public comment. Seeing none,
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're now closed from that. We have 2 items on our agenda. The first one is to approve the minutes October 29th, 2019. Any questions or comments there?
No.
Seeing none,
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 1.
Second?
we had a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Number 2 is to adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 budget for service area number 8. In that, the total revenues expected are $1,337,107, with the expenses being anticipated the same, $1,333,107. Also, on there, on additional budget requests, there is add a one-time full-time planner for $86,253. Staff promotions at $4,742, and a vehicle for stormwater engineer at 36,000, and land use ordinance software at 12,000. The first two were ranked high. The vehicle stormwater engineer was ranked at medium, and the land use ordinance software was ranked at high. Any comments or questions there?
As a general comment, as a citizen of unincorporated county, I love seeing that additional staff, because that's the number one complaint I hear from my neighbors is the need for more staff and help in that office, so.
I agree. I think that the staffing is needed. We had that conversation in our meeting in the fall. There is an item on there that's a medium request, and I would recommend, my position would be that we should put that in some sort of a restricted account, and only fund the high requests at this time. Just as we work out our final budget, I want to make sure we're looking at that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I have no concerns about that. I'll move that we approve the budget for Service Area 8 with the noted restricted account as from Commissioner Ainge.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution adopting 2020 budget with the noted vehicle storm water engineer placed in a restricted account. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're now adjourned from that meeting. We'll move into service area number 9. And there's a public hearing noticed. Can we open that public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now open for public comment on service area number 9. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close it.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
A motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now out of that public hearing. We have 2 items on our agenda. The first one is to approve the minutes of the October 29th, 2019 meeting. Any comments or questions to that? Okay, motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 1.
Second?
We had a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Number 2 is to adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 budget for the Utah County Service Area, number 9. In that, we have anticipated revenues of $258,500, with anticipated expenditures being $258,500. Any questions to that?
No.
Motion be in order.
Motion to approve the budget as stated.
Second?
I got a motion and a second to approve the budget as stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Okay, last one, I believe.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, thank you.
Second?
You're catching me on those. Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Last one is the Utah Valley Road Special Service District. We have listed here a public hearing for that. Can we open up that hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
sorry.
correct.
It was on the back of my papers.
Okay.
I'm just rolling. Okay. Good. We'll pause for one moment as they change the recording. Okay, we have a meeting now for the Board of Equalization. We have 5 items, excuse me, on this this meeting, and we'll just walk down through these. I'm looking for Bert. Oh, there you are. Okay. We'll just start with the first one. The first one, we'll go down through, we'll start with the first one. Is the board, approve the Board of Equalization Assessor Approved Review Process Report. Any questions on that one?
No.
Motion to approve regular agenda item number 1.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I thought I heard 3.
Aye.
Okay. That passes 3-0. Number 2 is to approve or deny a petition of the Board of Equalization to hear the appeal of a property value after the filing deadline, as stated. Bert.
Just bringing up the document right now. Actually, I probably don't even need to do that. In reviewing the petition, there was no issue with notice or there was no issue of factual error raised, so this would be, petition would be considered on the merits of the circumstances only, so, with that, I'd give that back to the board to make a decision, I guess.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
No.
I would move that we deny regular agenda item number 2.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to deny agenda item number 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Number 3 is to adopt or deny a petition of the Board of Equalization to hear the appeal of a property value after the filing deadline for the parcel stated.
The only question on this one, again, there was not a notice issue raised, although in reviewing the information provided and looking at the circumstances surrounding the appeal, I had a question of whether or not there might be a factual error in this case due to a significant rise in the value between last year's adjusted value and this year's adjusted value. So I asked Peter Jepson of the assessor's office to look at that specifically.
Peter Jepson. We didn't find any factual error. In fact, if you look at the record, in 2016, it was $1,004,000, 17, $1,005,000. They did a BOE in 18, it was reduced. The person representing the county didn't realize that there was a sale of $1,350,000 in 2015. So it went back to what would be the normal amount, but there was no factual error. It's a value issue, if anything, that we could see.
So can I, as I look through their application, the question I had was, it seems like they went through the process. And one of the things that they're going through this time, I can't see what their appeal file looked like in 2018. This is just their 19 file. But if indeed they went and valued this based on a net operating income basis, which is what they're trying to do in 19, and the county approved it, it does seem odd to me that then in 19 they would just get a fair market comparable value. I mean, how does that work, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out is, if we already agreed to an adjustment in 18, are we then in 19 going back to the exact same methodology that we overturned in 18?
Well, that goes to step 2 of the hearing process. Step 1 is should it be opened? And the opening is never done based on value. The opening is always done based on the factors that the code sets forth. As far as the value issue, a person could go back and look and see the hearing officer or the person representing the county, the appraiser. I talked to him. He was unaware when they showed their income approach of the sale that had just happened the prior year. And so an income approach, you may have all the factors, you may not have all the factors. It's done fairly quickly. And so I can't really defend that the income approach wasn't a job where they maybe snowed them in the BOE. That happens sometimes. But when you try to say, shall we open it up based on income, it's not one of the factors that can be opened up. Should this be looked at? Could it be looked at? Could we look at an income approach? Yes. But it isn't one of the factors that the code allows us to say as, shall a late appeal be opened based on the income approach? So factual error, it says that the taxpayer and the county agree that this is a factual error that doesn't require anything. So, yeah.
Appreciate that. Sounds like, looks like Chris might have a comment on this.
Chris Paulson, County Assessor. Can I recommend that we not look at factual error on this because it was appealed in 2018. House Bill HB 11 last year allowed that if an appeal had been made in the prior year and a significant increase occurred, that it goes into why that should be looked at again. And so if the board would consider opening up because of HB 11,
Okay.
And with those parameters, we could then take a look at it based on the income and other things, which would exclude the factual error element.
Appreciate that.
From a process standpoint, I would like to submit to the board that I had that exact same question and called the state tax commission. The tax commission's opinion was they should have filed on time regardless of the circumstances. I specifically referred to the bill that Chris is talking about, but as always, that's up to the board to decide. So
My personal opinion on that, I appreciate that insight, but I understand that they still missed the deadline, but I'm sympathetic if someone has gone through an adjustment process and they feel like that adjustment process is going to roll forward in future years. And so I would move that we allow this appeal through based on House Bill 11.
One second.
I got a motion and a second to approve item number 3 under House Bill 11. Is that correct?
that's
that
probably a
sufficient?
good way of stating it.
Okay.
The official term is it's qualified valuation. So I'm sorry. There's a specific term that they institute with House Bill 11 as to this type of appeal. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but it was like qualified valuation or something. Anyways, but House Bill 11 probably covers it.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. Number 4 is to approve or deny a petition to the Board of Equalization, the hearing for a property valuation after the filing deadline, as stated in number 4. Bert.
Again, my comments, so this one was primarily a notice issue. I provided the notice history within the documentation. The notice shows, the notice history shows the notice was mailed to the address of record, as recorded on the warranty deed. Now, you'll notice that the warranty deed, as recorded, based on the petitioner's comments, is recorded wrong, is wrong on the deed itself, meaning that the deed that was handed to us and the address we recorded by the petitioner's own information was wrong. So therefore, it was impossible for us as the county to record a correct address, and subsequently the notice went and was returned, both evaluation and the tax notice. In a notice issue, typically there's a need to find the county at fault in failure to notice. So whether or not that circumstance rises to unanticipated or extraordinary is up to the board, but that's the information I have within the file.
So the county is not claiming that there was any factual error because the facts were there. They would probably claim otherwise, but we need to look at it in the sense of, is there extraordinary circumstances in which they didn't get notification? Right.
This would be deciding whether or not to open up the appeal based on the notice situation. There's no real, the petition didn't bring forth any kind of factual issue, meaning a physical characteristic categorization that we have wrong or something like that would allow us to open up the appeal. This would basically be a circumstantial merit argument again.
On this one, it's weird because there's not an error on our part on the deed,
Right.
but we're sending it to the wrong address.
Well, and it's hard because
that's where this one was a little tricky for me, because to me, there's an error that occurred. They didn't get notification and the opportunity to do it. And hopefully now that we've found the source of the error, we've corrected that, but.
Probably not, honestly, Commissioner, because we are not, at least to my office, doesn't actually correct incorrect addresses. That because the state statute places that responsibility on the homeowner, we have to have the homeowner correct their address. Hopefully, they've now corrected it. But
And that's in saying we, I was speaking
the
broadly
royal
to
we.
everyone involved in the situation.
Yeah.
And so as a result, because of that notification on this one, my inclination to say there is some different circumstances here that would allow that appeal to go through. But I can see this one both ways pretty easily.
I can see it both ways. I'm happy to let it go through. I will point out that sometimes when the notice is insufficient, I don't view that as a very good argument when They've been paying taxes when they've been a homeowner. They
Right.
know they own the land, and they clearly have an obligation to pay taxes. That's not really the case here. It's just simply an appeal deadline.
Yeah.
And so,
New homeowners.
new homeowners, the transaction happened last year. This is their
Yeah,
first time.
and
to
this
go
was
through
the first time they were
process.
getting notice, so.
So I would move that we approve regular agenda item number 4.
Second?
We've got a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 4. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0. Number 5 is to approve or deny a petition to the Board of Equalization to hear an appeal of a property valuation after the filing deadline, as
Right.
stated in number 5.
Again, this is where no factual error or notice issue was raised by the petitioner, so this is a circumstantial merit petition only. So based on what the petitioner states in their petition and what they're asking for, that's up to the board to decide if those circumstances rise to the level of being approved.
Okay.
I would move that we deny regular agenda item number 5.
I would second that.
Got a motion and a second to deny agenda item number 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That, number 5 is denied with a 3-0 vote.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now adjourned from that meeting. We'll pause for 1 second as we change the recording. Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Okay. We're now in a meeting for the Board of County Commissioners. And as always, we start with a prayer, reading, or thought, and the Pledge of Allegiance. And we have a volunteer. Kyle says he'd like to do the prayer. Is there anybody who would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Right, okay. Please.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Sunday before last, we entered into the Advent season, which for Catholics is the 4-week period before Christmas. It's a period of prayerful anticipation before that day comes, and we're given some different reflections each week to think of there. So that's the prayer that I'd like to offer today. God of glory and wisdom, the day draws near when the glory of your Son will make radiant the night of our waiting world. Do not let the obstacle of selfishness keep us from the joy that is at the end of our Advent path. May the darkness not blind us to the vision of wisdom, which fills the minds of those who find him. Help us, source of all kindness, to clear out all those things that block our paths. Let us straighten our crooked ways, pull down our distressful mountains, and fill up our valleys of fear. We ask this in the name of Jesus, the Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. On our published agenda, we have a number of items published on consent and regular. We will move all of the items, both on published consent and regular, to being approved, ratified, or agreed to as stated in the documents, and then we'll pull off items for discussion. And going down through our published consent agenda, we need to hold number 13 for action. Any others on the published consent?
Number 9, I would like continuance on. We had some members of the public who were concerned that there was a significant drainage ditch that had been altered or covered during this process, and we're concerned that there might be significant flooding to the surrounding parcels if this isn't addressed. And so Richard Nelson and I met at the property. Richard concurred that this could create some significant flooding issues, and I believe we have a meeting set up with Rob, or we're working on a meeting with Rob. Apparently we're working on that meeting based on Rob's look to make sure that we get that addressed so that we don't have this drain ditch covered and some flooding of the surrounding parcels in an adverse weather event.
Okay, that's Fine. So continued or?
Continued. And I think,
week or-
Richard, a week should be okay, right?
So we'll leave it on consent to be continued for 1 week. Okay. All right. On regular agenda, we have number 1 and number 4 that are the same. If it's all right, we can strike number 1.
Mhm.
Is that, okay, strike number 1. And of course, hold number 4.
Hold number 5.
Number 5. Okay. So let's go back. Is that it? Anything else there? Okay. We'll go back then to number 13. This one's to receive a recommendation proposal with an RFP. The urine drug screening laboratory services. And Tad, Bert?
Tad Rasmussen from purchasing. There were 2 submissions, Siemens and Thermo Fisher, and they met as a committee. There's a committee, and they did their evaluation, and their first choice came back to Siemens. And any more questions on that, I'm referring to Pat Bird.
I don't have any questions.
I didn't have any additionals.
Okay. Then a motion would be in order, unless,
I'll move that we approve consent agenda item number 13, as stated, recognizing Siemens Healthcare Diagnostics as the recipient.
Second.
get a motion and a second to receive the recommendation with Siemens as the selection. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. That passes 3-0. Okay, number 4 on the published regular agenda is to receive a recommendation proposal for further negotiation or award of a contract related to the request for proposal for underwriting services connected with the issuance of the excise tax refunding. And I saw, there you are. Come on up. Matt Dugdale.
Commissioners, good morning. Matt Dugdale with Stiefel Nicholas, financial advisor to the county. Always a pleasure to be in the county today. We just right before Thanksgiving sent out a proposal for underwriting services for the excise tax refunding on the convention center bonds. Appreciate Robert and Tad and their office's help in that. We received 3 strong proposals back from underwriting firms that all have experience in the state of Utah: JP Morgan, RBC, which is the Royal Bank of Canada, and Piper Jaffray. There are qualitative and quantitative measures in scoring these, and in doing so, the firm receiving the highest score was RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, and recommend them to you as underwriter on these bonds. Happy to answer other questions or dive further into the proposals and the scoring if you'd like.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I don't have any questions on it.
No, I appreciate how much you communicate with us. That would be my only comment. You're always so good about sharing information and updating on the process. I just want you to know that it's noted and appreciated how informed you keep all 3 of us as we work through our process of this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Unfortunately, the communication is always about bonds.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's usually about you saving us money on bonds.
That's
so
a good
that's
thing.
a good thing.
We love it when we talk
Yeah.
about savings.
Yes.
But we can't spend present value. Okay.
I move that we would approve regular agenda item number 4, moving forward with RBC.
Second?
I got a motion and a second that we have received the recommendation for RBC and to enter into further negotiations with them. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. That passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Okay, number 5 is to elect a chair and vice chair of the Board of County Commissioners of Utah County to serve until replaced.
So on this particular issue, I feel like it's time for us to have a new chair in light of some historic and current issues. And I would propose that we have Commissioner Tanner Inge serve as chair, and I would serve as vice chair.
Any thoughts?
I agree. I'm willing to do that.
The question is, we usually do this at the first of the year, so what's the issues that are concerning?
A couple issues. Primarily, the role of the chair is multifaceted. One is that the role of the chair is to speak for the will of the majority of the commission, and there have been several instances throughout this year where I feel that has not occurred, and I want to make sure that the chair is voicing the will of the majority of the commission.
Do you have specifics?
I do. The change in government, the tax process.
So the chair can't have their own opinion?
The chair can have their own opinion, but when the chair speaks publicly for the body at large, they are to represent the will.
And I would say, I'm grateful for your service as chair this year. I think that you've been fair throughout the year. I think we were both caught off guard with the approach in the change of government, but that's not my issue. But as we've gone through the budget issue, this time I think that there have been several instances when you have been less than forthcoming with us as your peers on the commission and with the general public about the budget process. And when we're going through a difficult budget process and we have an important public hearing, and there's been a tendency on your part to give misinformation and to make it harder rather than easier, I don't think that's been appropriate.
Okay. So misinformation, like stating that my position on the possible sale of the equestrian center was to make payroll. Is that misinformation you're talking about, which is factually totally incorrect on your part?
I'm happy to talk about that issue. Would you like to talk about that? I mean,
I'm
did I
just-
say those words that Commissioner Lee wants to sell to payroll? I said we shouldn't sell it to make payroll. And as far as I'm concerned, I've only seen a budget plan that still has an operating deficit. And so for me, selling an asset when we still have an operating deficit is a serious concern. But I made the position that I am not okay with selling the equestrian park to make payroll. But the issue that I'm talking about more is throughout this process, now we have, as the chair, sending out emails, encouraging people, saying that the other two commissioners, want to double your taxes, come speak out against it, saying in many public hearings that the tentative budget or what was proposed from the clerk auditor's department was the proposal of the other two commissioners when that wasn't the case. And there's many other instances. We also had a town hall hearing that was supposed to be a Q&A session that we were informed that you were not be attending, and you attended and you kind of hijacked the meeting and gave a presentation that we hadn't seen, and that we had asked you earlier in the day if you had any new budget updates, and you said no, and then you came and gave that presentation. So it's been really hard to try to work through a budget process where we all want to balance the budget, we all want to end deficit spending, and there just hasn't been a forthcoming demeanor or approach, I think, the entire time.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. Always there's a different perspective. We agreed to 3 town hall meetings. All 3 of us were going to go to them. We talked about repeatedly that there was going to be some presentations, possible presentations on both sides of the issue. And so that's an interesting comment there. But after the 1 town hall meeting, I was informed from your office that we were going to cancel the other 2 due to could not find space. And then town halls pop up, which is, that's fine. I was going and doing cottage meetings as well on my own. But I find it disheartening that and frustrating to a point when we agreed to 3 town hall meetings together, and then all of a sudden we turn around and say, oh, we can't find space, and then we're going to go ahead and do them on our own, which is fine. And then we use county resources to send out emails using Qualtrics, and it almost looks like Qualtrics is being weaponized to a certain degree. And even from our meeting we had the other day with Qualtrics, they pointed out how great a candidate or an elected official had used Qualtrics to empower their incumbency, which I found disheartening. And so the Qualtrics was used with that access with county funds. When I asked for the same opportunity to send out emails to inform others that I was going to hold a town hall meeting, the answer came back, "No, you're not," which again is extremely frustrating. And you saw the email that was going to go out, which was changed after what happened. Go ahead.
So that's a perfect example of you send an email out saying that happened, that you were blocked. Send an email. You sent that out to a lot of people as chair, which reflects on the other two members of the commission. And you know that is inaccurate. What you just said is not true.
What are you talking about? Did you give permission for it to happen?
We did not send out any personal emails. I have never used the Qualtrics account, nor has Commissioner Ivey, to send out a personal email notifying a personal event. The way that we have used that account has been, and we were all on board early on in the year, that a majority of the commission would approve a press release. So a majority of the commission approved a press release. That initial draft of the press release showed up with a blank for a quote from Commissioner Lee and a blank for a place where Commissioner Lee could have notice a town hall meeting. You did not choose to participate in that press release. So two commissioners sent out a press release that happened to mention town hall meetings, which were related to the press release. That went out, and it was supported by a majority of the commission. When we had our individual town hall meetings at other times, we haven't used that account to send out notices to people. I haven't used that to send out tax plan, and I have used personal accounts or campaign accounts to do that type of correspondence. And so that is entirely consistent with our year-long policy that anything ever going out from that account has been approved by a majority of the commission.
Right, and I was just asking I was trying to notice the town hall meeting that I had. At the time that one was going out, I did not have everything solidified. I couldn't put anything in there. It wasn't solidified. I was trying to get a Friday meeting. Didn't happen. Had to happen on a Monday instead, and so I had nothing to put into that account. So all I was asking for was on a fairness basis that it was able to send out on a town hall basis, through the county resources. I was asking for the same courtesy with it.
And you never indicated to us that, hey, can you delay this press release? Maybe I want to include a town hall meeting. That conversation never happened, and nor did you ever come to us and ask for fairness. So the fact that you, without even talking, then it went and accused and and just gave a speech that how we're manipulating and weaponizing a county tool, and somehow you're a victim here, is a perfect example of the manipulation of information that makes us uncomfortable in this process.
Yeah, well, again, there's a lot of statements that are being said all over and back and forth, and I reached out to our PIO, which is kind of our normal process with that, assuming that would be sent out. He sent back and said, no, I can't do that without two commissioners. And I said, okay, well, I'm sure that ask him. That's how that happened. And the ask was made, and he came back and said, no, it's a no. So
I never responded no. I was at a conference for suicide prevention all weekend, so.
So you would have responded yes?
I would have reviewed the information had I seen it, and I concur with Commissioner Ainge. And on the particular issue at hand, I would at this point like to end debate and call the question.
Fair enough. Okay.
I would second that motion. I think, should we clarify, Commissioner Ivey, an effective time of this?
Conclusion of this meeting.
Okay. So I second the motion to elect me as the chair, Commissioner Ivey as the vice chair, effective immediately following this meeting.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. As stated, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. That passes 2-1. Okay. Closed meetings, the only one I have is number 7. Any others, Dave?
I think there is number 6. 6 and 7. So I move that we strike regular agenda items number 8 and 9.
Second?
I got a motion and a second to strike agenda items number 8 and 9. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Motions for 6 and 7.
I move that we approve and set time, date, and location for this location immediately following this meeting for, to hold closed sessions for items 6 and 7.
Second?
I got a motion and a second to approve and set a date, time, and location as stated, number 6 and 7. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. We have no work session items. Any public comment?
I just wanted to this is Ezra Nair from Provo. I just wanted to briefly speak on the issue that you brought up with that Commissioner Ainge's office had notified you that venues were not being able to be solidified for some of those town hall meetings we wanted to have. Since that was something that I had personally told Brian in that communication, that was true. The dates that we had originally spelled out, we had some specific venues in mind, and they weren't available on those dates, and so we did have to adjust, and it was easier to just have one commissioner reach out when they were free, as opposed to the schedule that we had originally mentioned where 3 commissioners might be available that day. And so that was actually an issue. So I just wanted to clarify that was not misdirection. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nan Ride. Just really quickly, I know your main objective is the budget right now, but just to go off a little bit, Commissioner Ainge, I really appreciate you. I have to tell you that. To give you a little bit of background about me, I'm the widow of Officer Corey Ride. He worked for the Utah County Sheriff's Department. He was shot and killed in the line of duty almost 6 years ago, so just next month it'll be 6 years. I had been having problems with health insurance, survivor death benefits from the county, and I feel extremely harassed. I feel extremely betrayed by the very county that my husband served for 18 years. I'm under the understanding, Commissioner Lee, that you are over HR. So I have a lot of questions. So you're not over the HR department for the county. Well, whoever's over the HR department, I have a lot of questions because what's been going on is unacceptable, and I'd really like some answers and some help from you guys. I know that I have expressed my concern to Commissioner Ivey, and he's been extremely supportive from the very beginning to our family. When an officer is killed in the line of duty throughout our state, there is an honor that is always upheld. The family is always taken care of, and for some reason, Utah County doesn't think that that's okay to do to our family. In the past, I know that our sheriff has held, and a couple of the commissioners have held the standard a lot higher, but since we've lost some of them, it's been a lot harder, so I need your guys' help. What's been happening, first of all, the health insurance. This year, I was not informed about open enrollment. I was signed up without my knowledge, so I have no idea what my insurance is. All of my emails, my phone calls, and personal visits are pushed aside, and it takes literal weeks for me to get answers back from the personnel department, for me to find out about health insurance for my children. My children need this. I've remarried, and I very well could just go on my husband's and it's no big deal, but I'm fighting for my kids. They need this. Usually in the past when Sheriff Tracy was there, I was getting help with the HSA because it's a high deductible insurance, and I'm super grateful for that. What would happen is the $800 would be matched at the beginning of the year. If I put in $800, it's matched, and then I had the opportunity to participate in the health screenings, and then that extra money was put in to help pay for the copays and the high deductibles that my kids would incur using that insurance. Super helpful. The last 2 years, I have been completely jerked around by the personnel department. And it has taken me literally this whole entire year to get my HSA. And they didn't even put it into my HSA, they put it into a personal account. And what they've been doing is on my survivor death benefit, it's a death benefit. I'm not an employee of the state of Utah, or the county. I'm not an employee, but I'm getting a 1099. So I get to pay $5,000 in taxes to the IRS for a death benefit. That is not cool, it's not right. And I would really, really appreciate some help and a lot of explanation as to why. I mean, I don't know if I've offended someone or if I've done something wrong. Just so you know, in the beginning, there wasn't health insurance for widows and families of fallen officers. So I worked with our state legislature and helped write a bill so that that is provided. And then all of the money, every department in the state has to pay into a pot. And all of that money goes to help those families. And so there shouldn't be any pushback. There shouldn't be a big deal. It's just until my children are 25. I mean, it gives everybody a head start. Our lives were shattered, and this is like the last thing that our family needs. I'm coming up on an anniversary, coming up on 6 years, and we're barely getting our head above the water. And I really need the county's support. I really need the help. So if you could please find it in your heart to help out. I know that Nathan has been really, Commissioner Ivey, he's my friend, so he's been super, super supportive, and I can text him any time, day or night, and he answers me right back. I cannot say that about anyone else, not anyone else in the county. It takes literal weeks for me to get answers back, and it's not right, it's not fair. My life was taken away, and my husband was killed in cold blood, serving this county and serving every one of us. And we should all be ashamed that he's not honored better. Thank you.
Nanette, just as a quick follow-up from our conversation yesterday, I did speak with Kyle after we got off the phone, and we're working on a letter of understanding that would be given to you, that we need approval from the whole commission once that we get some kind of draft put together, and that would be a letter of understanding that you are working under a specific survivor benefit. That's why you're receiving those things, and that they should be tax exempt. And obviously, we're working through that process, but I did want to follow up with you via our conversation yesterday, and I spoke with Kyle on that letter of understanding.
I really appreciate that.
A step forward, and helping you understand there will be a whole process that we'll go through with that, from legal review and approval from the other commissioners and such, but we are working on that.
And just a side note, in addition to that too, with the survivor benefit, there is an IRS code that states that if an officer is killed in the line of duty and there's a death benefit paid to the family, it is not taxable. And so my tax person, that's what he's talking about, had caught that. But I got pushback from the director of HR, and they found a loophole so that they can still tax me. So I think it's wrong. Sometimes you just have to do the right thing. And the right thing is to watch out for our family, because we had our whole lives taken away from us.
And I would recognize, I believe the other two commissioners with me definitely want to do the right thing in helping, and they've always been.
I'm sure, I
when
hope
we've talked about these issues with survivor benefits, I've felt that sense of unity there without question.
And you know, I hate to say it, but Corey's the first since the 1800s that was killed in the line of duty. It is just a matter of time before it happens. There has got to be a plan and process to protect these families and to help these officers, so that these officers aren't lying to their families and saying, if something happens to me in the line of duty, you're going to be taken care of, because you know what? It's a bold-faced lie. Since my husband died, I have had to fight for everything I had, and I've had to have friends like the commissioners, like the sheriff, to help me. And that's not right. There should be processes in place. So please help put those in place for us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. I'm here because Nan asked me, reached out to me to reiterate and remind of what happened. So speaking back to many years ago, I know as a commission, nobody here is purposefully or trying to cause harm to that family. In fact, Commissioner Ivey, under his leadership for a county code, we actually changed and strengthened on top of the state law to take care of the benefits. So I'm here to make sure that we realize as commissioners, you as commissioners, help solidify that county code and make sure that those people are taken care of. Also, couple of questions to prepare you guys for tomorrow that I have, because I want to give you plenty of notice. Obviously, I still support a tax increase. I feel like I got that ball rolling. So a couple things, and these are not meant to attack. These are just clarifications, again, to give you guys notice, because I will bring them up tomorrow. I have nothing for Commissioner Ainge. You and I had many conversations. I believe you're being very consistent on this. For Commissioner Ivy, the only question I want you to be prepared for tomorrow is, last year when I brought up we need a higher rate, you said, I don't know that we need one that high, and now you've seen the wisdom. In fact, I remember running into Josh, and he said, I thought you were crazy last year, and it turns out you knew the numbers pretty well. Paraphrasing, but fairly close. Again, I know you'll do what's right. I have no doubt about that, but I'd like you to be able to respond to that, because I think that's a question you're going to get faced that I hear from out there. For Commissioner Lee, you've been very consistent as far as no tax increase. I'm okay with that. I respect that because it represents a huge majority of Utah County residents. I've always respected your opinions for those things. As you know, we've had that conversation for many years. However, last year in budget meetings or tax increase meeting or whatever you want to call it, you stated, hey, this year we don't need to do this, and you got Commissioner Ivy's support. I voted against it, but you said we will cut and we'll be lean, we'll trim the fat, just like in your plan this year, the 25 pages. However, there's a couple things. As chair, you put on the agenda and for an increase for your guys's, and again, this is not a attack, an increase for your assistants and raise the salary. That's what you did out of the chute. Then we increased staff for the clerk auditors. Again, I'm not questioning those. You guys are in the seats and probably needed. The elections seem to have a lot of praise this year, and I think you all went back for an award. So well done, right? Again, it's not an attack. We increased the attorney's office. The only question I have on that is, did we put them through the same scrutiny? Because the commission meeting I went back and watched, I didn't see the same metrics that when we go through budget season, we say, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? How does that decrease the caseload? Again, attorneys are easy to attack for the public, right? It's like, whatever. So making sure we have that defense there.
Are you suggesting that most people don't like attorneys?
Yeah, you know, that politicians and attorney jokes, right? Yeah, so, but I would encourage you, as I support the tax increase, again, because I knew the number years ago, and unfortunately that 100% is probably closer to accurate. I see you've made an adjustment in a plan. But keep in mind when the attorneys are talking about an increase, and in part of Commissioner Lee's plan that he has on the county website, he talks about capital expenses for $1 million. I know where that number came from. It came from last year. And again, are we holding them responsible going from year to year and making sure we know where and what that money came from? Because checking the news and checking the reports didn't seem to be that many capital cases, so maybe that money was already set aside. The other thing is, I didn't see in the tentative budget a 1.78%, which is the actual rate that we based it on last year on the standard rate for a cost of living adjustment, because those are real. I believe you should take care of all the public servants. That actually, for me, includes the elected officials. Your dollar spends the same as everybody else's dollars. I've always held that belief. I think that should be put into place. I didn't see that in there. But going back to the attorneys, if you have to add 17 attorneys because of the workload, the thing that bothers me the most about the budget is I didn't see the front end and the back end of that in the budget. For many years, the sheriff's office has been operating under extreme scrutiny. Sheriff Tracy and I, and then Sheriff Smith and I have many things. So I'd like to clarify a couple things. In Commissioner Lee's plans, when he talks about the ICE revenue budget, I was in that meeting. I cast that vote. I know where he got the $2.4 million. That was a typo. It was discussed. Under Sheriff Forshee did give us that paper, and then we discussed, and then that was later clarified. It was really about $200,000 in annual savings was the number I remembered, and actually went back and looked on the forms I had from that meeting, from the budget meetings, because I did a lot of notes on the budget. But if the workload for the attorneys is going up, why are we not increasing the patrol side? And why are we not increasing the jail side of the sheriff's office? That makes no sense to me. If their workload is so high, which it is, I know. For 4 years, I listened to Jeff Buman say, we need more attorneys, we need more attorneys. We every year said, no, you don't, no, you don't, no, you don't. Well, now they've got them. Well, we need more deputies. We need to show support, which is why I'm glad Nan came here, because to me it's a full circle. We need to honor our sworn officers by taking care of them up front in every regard from beginning to end for their family. So again, thank you guys for your service and ask you to be prepared for those questions tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Jim Tracy, Utah County Sheriff retired and also Utah County citizen. I'm here today to support Nan in her efforts to try to receive what I believe was a promise, I know was a promise from the county. Back in January, on January 30th, 2014, I lost a coworker and a friend. I didn't lose a spouse. I didn't lose my father. That family did. And in that time, this county, in closed session and other sessions, made specific promises to the Wright family and to Nan. I would encourage, before anything is done as far as making changes to any benefits, that this commission go back and look at those minutes back in closed meetings and in open meetings about what was said and what was promised. I know that one commission can't bind another commission, I understand that. But surely the weight of a promise in the memory of a dead deputy who was murdered in the line of duty should be of some significance to be brought forward in the future. I would suggest that we, as you as a commission, and that we as a county support an effort to make sure that those who fall in the line of duty are taken care of as far as their needs and then their family needs, and that we review those needs as far as they were promised to that individual by this county. The last thing, a second point I would like to just go over. Sometime I wouldn't mind sitting with you, Commissioner Ainge, about incorporated and unincorporated area. I was having a problem trying to follow your remarks about splitting out the unincorporated area. Every inch of this county that's not in a city or a township that's been established is unincorporated. If you're looking for statistics of what kind of crime load is being carried within those 10 or 8,000 people that live in the unincorporated area, that's different than trying to separate them out from the statistics of what caseload the sheriff carries in the unincorporated area, because they're the same. Whether you're living in Palmyra and there's a crime there, or you're on the top of the mountain where nobody lives, it's all unincorporated. And it's all the primary duty. That is the primary responsibility for law enforcement of the sheriff's office, is all unincorporated areas. So it really makes no difference to the sheriff where something occurs, although statistically the sheriff has those numbers. He can break those out. They're all tracked. But the caseload comes from the entire unincorporated area. And that's the hard part, to separate it out as a need or not a need. It's all needed if it occurs in the unincorporated area. So
I appreciate that. If I may, just a couple of comments. One, the comments about Nan Wright, I think I really appreciate the comments that have been made. I think you were very well spoken in this. I just want to state for the record, because there's a show of support here, and from everything that I understand, my office, and I do work with HR, has never been contacted about any issue, about any commitments not being made. I think that Commissioner Ivey was correct to say that there's probably unity on this commission to make sure that that happens. And so I appreciate the support. If this is a way of raising an issue, but just to be clear, I don't think I'm not aware of the issue coming up or any sort of denial or any sort of adjustment. And so it very well may be, she made some remarks about some processing issues, not being notified of benefit enrollments, things being changed, getting a letter, and that type of stuff. Unfortunately, we have had some challenges in our HR department. I've experienced them myself, and so I can certainly see how that would happen. But I can't imagine a conscious decision being made that had a negative impact, and so I think that we can sit down and talk about that. So I appreciate you raising it.
Well, and agree. I'm not accusing that of anybody either. That was a road that was unplowed. I mean, Corey was the first, other than a deputy that was killed in the Provo City Court in the 1800s. My point was that before any final decisions to be made about what you're going to offer in the future, if there may be a change, I would suggest that you go back and look at what promises had been made, so that hopefully those things going forward that are being offered to the family will be consistent with what I believe were promises made in perpetuity to that family. Thank you.
And then on the comment on the unincorporated area, I will clarify. And this is an area that I'm still learning on, and it's an area that I've had an initial conversation with Sheriff Smith on, but.
It's a big area.
Essentially what I'm saying, a statement to say, I think it would be helpful for the Sheriff's Department to try to break out their role as the primary law enforcement of the unincorporated area is not a statement to say the sheriff only belongs in the unincorporated area, right? We've talked about many other things that are done. Major crimes task force, SVU, SWAT team, that extend beyond that. But I think it's just a way to say, hey, there is a tax collected in the unincorporated area for primary law enforcement services. That is one area where there's a primary service, and so we should try to connect. So in other words, I think it would be helpful, and it would help the Sheriff's Department be accountable in a way and to articulate their mission in a clearer way to say, this is what we do in the unincorporated area. We're the primary law enforcement. This is how we handle the Corrections Department, which is a general fund that serves the entire county.
Right.
And the third bucket is, this is how we serve the entire county with our law enforcement services because it makes sense to do so, whether it's SWAT or contracts with cities or et cetera, right? So I'm not trying to limit it there, but I do think that there's some benefit in thinking about it that way.
I would agree. I think that's good for transparency. I think that could be done within a matter of a day or two budgetarily, because those budgets are tracked by line item, and they're identified within the proposed budget of the sheriff's office every year as to where those expenditures go.
Sure.
There may be some more fine differentiation that could be made. If you're buying 10 SWAT things, how many of those might be going for work that goes to the overall, SWAT response countywide? That might be clarified, but I think you could get that information pretty quickly.
No, I agree. It's mostly there, so it's not that big of a change. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? All right, we will close we will go into our closed meetings.